Shalom, my name is Adam and I welcome you to the parable of the Vineyard. Every day, Yahweh is waking up a remnant, a group of people who are coming out of deceptions, realizing our walk is to consist of faith and obedience to his righteous commands. Each week, we read through and examine a portion of the Torah, allowing the Spirit of the Most High to guide, teach, and open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of his law. Join us as we seek to be refined by his word, preparing ourselves for the return of our King of Kings, being faithful and obedient, walking in his way, truth, and life. Hey, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard. This is week 18 of our line-by-line study of the Torah. We're going to cover Exodus 21 through 24. This is known as the Mishpatim, or the right rulings, or what most of our translations say, judgments, which makes it sound like a negative thing. When we look through this, we'll look through the Psalm shortly. In the heart of David, who was a man after Yah's own heart, loved Yah's judgments, his right rulings. We'll see some pretty interesting language, like 7 times in the night I praise you for your right rulings. So he makes an extreme emphasis on how good the divine determination by our Heavenly Father on how to make things right when things go wrong, or judicial punishments when someone does wrong. This is the divine standard that helps run a community, an organization, so that things are always just and fair. And so when decisions are made on how to treat a matter outside of the judicial proceedings according to the right ruling, that would be oppression or the opposite of freedom. And so I'm thankful to be in a place where I understand that the Torah is good, it's valid, and that when things go wrong, I can look not only just Exodus 21 through 24. This just happens to be the biggest concentration of these right rulings, and you'll see them explained better through the time. You see them in real time in the books of the Kings and how things play out. But this is the center point for if you want to deal with your brother and sister fairly and justly according to the divine law. This is one of the most important Torah portions, and so I find great interest in this one particularly. And because us in our community, we are at a place where we want to establish justice in our gates, so that whenever stuff happens, because stuff happens, and that's why the Torah was written, we know that we can always look to the Torah and specifically these right rulings on how to determine what's right and what outcome should happen. So anyways, enough about this. Let's just get into it. Let's pray. We're going to blow the shofars, and then we're going to get right into Exodus 21. So Heavenly Father, creator of heaven and earth, that the one who created everything in 6 days and rested on the seventh, we just look to you, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we just ask that you'd continue to send your Holy Spirit and your doctrine from heaven on us, that we may grow and learn your righteous ways, especially these right rulings. Help us to understand better and have a better grasp of what you want from us and what you expect from us, because we love you and want to serve you with a willing heart. We want to be willing servants. And it's in Yahushua's mighty name. Amen. Hallelujah. All right, so let's blow the shofars. Get it ready. Hallelujah. Okay, so let's Exodus 21. Here we go. Shemot, Exodus chapter 21.
Now these are the judgments which you shall set before them. If you obtain an Ivri servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his woman shall go out with him. If his master have given him a woman, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the woman and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my woman, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And if a man surrenders his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master, who has betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To surrender her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he has dealt deceitfully with her. If he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another woman, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. He that smites a man so that he die shall be surely put to death. And if a man lie not in wait, but Elohim deliver him into his hand, then I will appoint you a place whither he shall flee. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, you shall take him from my altar, that he may die. And he that smites his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. And he that steals a man and sells him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And he that curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. And if men strive together, and one smite another with a stone, or with his fist, and he die not, but keeps his bed, if he rise again, and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be innocent. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man smite his servant, or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall surely be punished. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. If men strive and hurt a woman with a child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall surely be punished, according as the woman's man will lay upon him. He shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follow, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. If he smite out his manservant's tooth, or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. If an ox gore a man or a woman, that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be innocent. But if the ox were wont to push with his horn in the time past, and it has been testified to his owner, and he has not kept him in, but that he has killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner also shall be put to death. If there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. Whether he have gored a son or have gored a daughter, according to this judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox shall push a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit, and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give up money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. And if the ox of one man hurts the ox of another, that he die, then they shall sell the live ox, and divide the money of it, and the dead ox also they shall divide. Or if it be known that the ox has used to push in time past, and his owner has not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own.
Okay, so here we are, the first kind of wave of right rulings. I actually meant to read some of these right ruling or judgment prefaces before we got into it. I want to actually look at the Strong's word for mishpat or mishpatim, which is what this section is called. Mishpat can mean judgment, cause, ordinance, lawful. It would be I think the strongest word for our modern day terminology would be justice. Like when we're like, hey, justice is served. So we have that sense of, man, the right thing happened with this situation. Like the right outcome happened. Like justice was served or justice was given. right? And so the act of deciding a case. And so this mishpatim is where if people are in positions like elders in an assembly, or maybe even like if you're a teacher and you have children and you're mediating a situation, there's precepts here that can even be dealt in much lighter situations, right? Like we try to act with right ruling with our children, right? Investigating, hearing both sides, and that's some of the basic things that this kind of echoes into parts of our life, is that if you apply these principles of justice in all parts of your life, especially in your home with your children and your wife or spouse, this is where people always would get a sense of justice. That is, of course, if we believe that his decision on a matter is what's best, and that's just where me and my family are, and so we want to learn these. And so we can just honestly just finish that part up here with justice is really a good word to do so. I want to speak about justice or judgment or right ruling in the last days. First, in kind of a prophetic sense, this is what we're looking forward to, especially thinking about the kind of satanic world we live in now, where there's a form of justice, but it's like a veneer for a really rotten system. And so it's talking about Messiah, of course, and it says, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity or equality for the meek of the earth, and he shall smite the earth in such and such. So anyways, the point is that matters will be decided via the Torah, via the right rulings, is a messianic prophecy of something to look forward to. Isaiah 16, we've been talking a lot about this, the formation of the house of David in Moab, in enemy territory. It says, take counsel, execute judgment. So it's one thing to know about judgment, it's another thing to actually do it. Make thy shadow as the night in the midst of the noonday, hide the outcast, bewray not him that wanders, let my outcast dwell with you, Moab. Be you a covert to them from the face of the spoiler, for the extortioner is at an end, the spoiler ceases, the oppressors are consumed out of the land, and in mercy shall the throne be established, and he shall sit upon it in truth, so in the Torah, in the house of David, judging, seeking judgment, so like looking for it, seeking that judgment happens, I'm sure, in a small scale, but at some point, the eventuality is that this whole world will receive right ruling and hasting righteousness. So this is like a messianic prophecy. Isaiah 32, 1-3, behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in mishpatim, right ruling. And the man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, and as rivers of water in a dry place, and as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. So consider a lot of people that are feeling the burden of a very unjust system, that once they'd be brought into a system of justice, consider this is the poetic refreshment that it's talking about. The eyes of them that see shall not be dim. This is clearly prophetic, talking about being able to see the Torah, and the ears of them that hear, of course, hearing the voice, the word, the Torah of the Most High. Going down to verse 11, this is kind of a warning, in my opinion, to the nation at ease that honestly has a form of righteousness, but indeed are very anti-Yah. It's like that Christian veneer, in my opinion, if I can get straight to it. The book of Revelation talks about a two-horned lamb, but speaks like a dragon. To me, that's deceptively trying to appear Christ-like, but in their actual dealings is very unjust and very satanic. So tremble, you women that are at ease. What nation does that make you think of? Be troubled, you careless ones. Strip you, make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. Upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and briars. This is unfruitful. Yea, upon all the houses of joy, the joyous city, because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the city shall be left, the forts and towers shall be for dens forever, a joy of wild donkeys, a pasture of flocks, until, so it's like, this land is just going to be unfruitful in Yah's eyes. And so consider a Christian nation that does not keep his commandments is not a fruitful nation to him. It's wild thorns and wild, it's like weeds growing. He doesn't want it. Until the Spirit be poured upon us from high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest. Listen to this. Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness. So even in this wilderness area, so it's like this same theme how in Isaiah 16, that the house of David gets formed in enemy, like behind enemy lines, in enemy territory. It's like there's this decree to Moab, hey, you can't touch them. And then at some point in the future, the wilderness is a desert. So a desert is a barren land. So then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness quietness and assurance forever. And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation in sure dwellings. And so this is just that kind of protective state. In my opinion, a place where that is ruled by the Torah, I believe they are truly hiding under the wings or the shadow of Yahweh and receives their protection. Isaiah 42, this is like showing us that the whole world is waiting for these mishpatim, but they don't know it yet because, again, it's I think the enemy has a really brilliant plan in the end times that really has a lot of forms of freedom. Now, we know there's other countries that are just completely enslaved to like more direct enslavement. This country and other countries have a form of freedom, but of course, again, when cases or matters are not decided by the justice that Yah decrees, it's oppression, right? And it's so Isaiah 42, behold my servant whom I behold, my elect, in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. So this is a messianic prophecy, is that these mishpatim will be brought to the nations. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. So this is like understanding the judgments, the right rulings that we're about to read. I know I'm doing a lot of prep around it, but we're going to get into it. But this is really important to know that this is such a central part of the end times, is that judgment dwelling among his people. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he has set judgment in the earth, and the islands shall wait for his law. And so we've mentioned before how the Torah is not just the Sabbath and feast days and not eating pork. It's much more than that. Those are some of the big distinguishing marks that separates from mainstream Christianity. However, it's not limited to that, because Torah observant communities, assemblies can still operate in oppression if they're not impartially deciding matters. If there's buddy systems, if there's a good old boy system, or if there's bribes, or if there's a financial donor who gets away with doing wrongful things, because they're funding the operation, whatever it may be. There's plenty of opportunities for people that keep the food laws, Sabbath laws, the feast days, yada yada yada, but still operate in oppression, which was one of the major rebukes of his people. It was the Sabbaths, it was idolatry, and it was perverting judgment. And so Isaiah 14, I think I'm going to say that for later. Yeah, I want to read this towards the end. I don't want to read all the prophetic things. So we'll read more about the mishpatim, and then we'll talk about that. And then I'm just going to skim this. There's like more than a dozen references of David and how he feels about these right rulings, right? I'll praise you with uprightness of heart when I shall have learned your righteous judgment. So it's almost like we can't even praise him with an uprightness of heart until we learn what's right and what's wrong. And that's what this section's about. With my lips have I declared all the judgments of your mouth. My soul breaks for the longing that it has unto your judgments at all times. And so there's quite a few more. Homework is to read all these. I'm just kidding. You don't have any homework. But I have in the study notes, there's links for a lot more of this. Also, in Deuteronomy 1, when he set the leaders, it says, I charge your judges that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother and stranger that is with him. And again, these mishpatim is what we can go back to and draw conclusions on what's right and what's wrong. So you shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear the small as well as the great. You shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is Yahweh's, and the cause that is too hard for you. So basically, you can't get in the way of what Yahweh has already determined what that outcome should be. Now, let's kind of get into it. And also, actually, the last preface is there's a big misconception that Messiah came to say, hey, don't judge each other. You just do you, I do me, and we just go it our way. That's kind of a loose interpretation of how it's kind of handled these days, where he says, judge not that you be not judged. And people stop there and they're like, hey, you're rebuking me, but right, Jesus said, don't judge me. He may have said that right there, but you have to keep reading though, right? He's saying so this is the point of why he said that, for with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. So it's like, he'll go on to clarify, with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. And here he goes to continue to clarify what he's actually saying, like, how can you judge a person when you're still doing the wrong things yourself? Paul talks about this in Romans, I think 1 or 2. Like, you judge your brother for idolatry, and don't you do the same sacrilege? And you teach someone to steal, but you're stealing. Like, what is that? But here's the whole point: is why do you behold the mote that is in your brother's eye? Like, why do you see the problem with your brother, but you don't consider your own problem, right? Or how will you say to your brother, let me pull the problem out of your life, right? And behold, a beam is in your own eye, when there's still a massive problem in your life. You hypocrite. First, so here's the whole conclusion of that statement. First cast out the beam of your own eye, then shall you see clearly to cast out the mote of your brother's eye. So it's like, you first need to learn what's right and wrong, and then when you do, then you can properly correct your brother. And that's the whole point, because Leviticus 19 does say that loving correction is loving your neighbor. And so, anyways, kind of get into the beginning of this. It kind of starts off strange, because it's like, right away it's talking about slavery, right? Or, thankfully in this translation it says servant. Some other translations say slave, and people will be like, okay, you want to serve a god of slavery? That's, and obviously their most recent, thing with the Atlantic slave trade and all the atrocities that were committed there. It's like people attach slavery to Bible and just kind of give, say that God just gave a general okay to slavery, which is not the case. What this is talking about, this servant, is much more closely related to what we understand more recently as indentured servitude, as a form of labor in which a person is contracted to work without salary for a specific number of years. And so consider also, in a biblical sense, these people got fed. They had a safe place to sleep. They were well taken care of. And for a lot of people, that was just a better way of life than what they had been brought up. Indentured servitude is how this country got really populated and really got started. It was an expensive trip to pick a ship to come over here. Landowners would front the cost for some of these indentured servants. They'd come over and they'd work for, a lot of times it was actually 6 or 7 years, almost after close to the biblical model. And afterwards, so they'd work for 6, 7 years, they'd be fed, they'd have a place to stay, and afterwards they would receive either some acreage or some money to go on their way. And so it's not all, so the servitude is not altogether a bad thing. Consider that people would be servants sometimes if they had a debt to pay and they didn't have the money, they could go work it off, in this kind of way. But nevertheless, that was the norm back then. I'll be honest with you. In a lot of ways, this kind of landowner servant kind of dynamic actually has a lot of better quality of life than a lot of people do just working, how we do now, W-2, 1099. There's actually a lot more protection. There's a lot more safety. There's a lot more family. There's a lot more community orientation with that kind of a system. But it's not that that's the preferred. Obviously, it's preferred that every one of Yah's people would have their own house, their own fig tree. But this system is in place for those that are find themselves in debt and need to get out of debt. And there's other extenuating circumstances that would bring the servitude on. We're going to read it here in Exodus 22:3. So basically, if a thief is caught, then he shall be sold for his theft. So there's also kind of other situations of why that would happen. So, also realizing that our Elohim is not a hypocrite and would not command us to do anything that he wouldn't do himself. Also realizing there's some things in place for him, which is kind of interesting. Right here, if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my woman, my children, I will not go out free. And then there's this kind of permanency of hey, take a hammer or an awl and shove it through my ear in the doorpost. It's okay. It's a whole lot there, but obviously the spiritual implication there is I can honestly say that about Yah. I've been out in the world, I've served other masters, I've served, I was a man of that loved money, and so I guess how it says you can't serve God and mammon. I used to serve mammon, and I used to serve my own interests, my own wants. I've tasted that, and now I feel like I'm a servant of His. In his house, or at least I hope to be, I want to be, and I can easily say, I love my master, I love my wife, my children, I will not go out. It's go ahead, put it right through, right there, the doorpost. It's when Peter's where would we go? You have the words of everlasting life. Where am I going to go? And that's, and I abhor the sins of my youth, but at the same time, there's something to it where Messiah says, he who's forgiven more loves more. And it's almost because I've experienced the world and what it has to offer, I know that I would never go back. And so it's almost a bit more secure footing in his house than someone who's never tasted the world at all, But I don't know. Anyways, the point here is that there's some deep spiritual implications behind these judgments, these right rulings. If you kind of take a deeper look here, and I think this is one of them here, and this is why David says, I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my Elohim than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. And so, anyways, So let's see, what else do I want to say here? So here as well, there's if you really kind of read between the lines here, you get a divine heart posture of our Father on how to deal with situations. And there's always a tricky one with men abusing their wives, not providing. And so this is a very basic thing here. Now, I know this is in the context of taking another woman, but if we can honestly just be honest here, what we're dealing with is a woman, and dealing with her nourishment, her clothing, and duty of marriage, right? The marriage bed shall he not diminish. And here it is. Here's the heart of the Father. If he do not these things unto her, then she shall go out free with money. So I know that we have to couple with things like divorce, and he hates divorce and those kind of things. And in no way am I just pushing any woman in a hard situation to go get divorced. But what I am saying is that the God of Israel does not take well to men oppressing their wives, because he expects us to act like him, and he does not oppress us ever. He provides for us. Even when we do wrong, he provides for us, right? Even when we go astray, he provided for us. And so I think if you really look at this closely, I really believe that, if a man is if a man's not feeding his wife or giving her clothing, what's the difference is if he's beating her or throwing her down or, and so I just want to say that I think in investigating a matter, this is looked upon as a judicial baseline of if a man is abusive to his wife and threatening to her life, because that's what these are. This is life-threatening things. I mean, maybe not necessarily raiment, so maybe you can draw something else. But if a man refuses to feed her, he's refusing to care of her life. These are some of the ways how these basic mishpatim, which by the way, there's only 2 or 3 chapters of these. Certainly does not cover every single possible scenario of man. If Yah were to write a judicial proceeding for every single scenario in life, it would be so burdensome. I mean, how would that be? Like 1 billion pages? And so instead, what he's done is given us a basic root heart posture on a situation. So like when I say heart posture, like when something happens, this is how we look at it with this lens. So this lens is care for a woman. When looking at something, if a man is not caring for a woman or is neglecting or even oppressing or even violent, or that is a basis of, look, he says right here, she shall go out free without money. And I know this is in relation to servitude, but if we look at the Torah principles of husband and wife, the husband does have ownership of the wife. That's, it's really embedded in the Sabbath command. It goes on to say, hey, your employees rest, your animals rest, covet. The coveting command, not the Sabbath command. You should not covet anything that belongs unto your neighbor, and wife is one of those belongings. And that should not, a wife belonging to a man should not decrease the value of her, but increase, right? And so, anyways, this is just a general heart posture check for men on if they're actually caring. Paul talks about in Ephesians 5 that he cares for her and nourishes her as his own body. And so, let's see. Also, verse 12 here: he that smites a man so that he dies, he shall surely be put to death. So we live in a country, and there's other countries out there that have a form of biblical rectification or justice. And so there are some states in this country that if someone takes the life, it's not accidental manslaughter and it's just premeditated murder, death penalty, right? And so some people are like, that's so unjust. And I say, no, I disagree that this is now, we know that there's times where mercy can be taken, or there's extenuating circumstances. Case in point, David. And so there you have extremes there to operate in. But the general rule is, right, if he that smites a man so he dies shall surely be put to death. And so that's why, in general, just a cold-blooded, unrepentant murderer, that's different than David. And again, this David situation does not absolve every man henceforth. That if they repent, I don't know. I don't want to claim to have a full grasp of the dynamic of this is the ruling of Yah, this is what happens, versus there's times of mercy and divine intercession where the God of heaven can withstay his hand from this type of punishment. But nevertheless, to stay on point here, is that the death penalty does come from a biblical principle. And so consider, again, we do live in a country that has a lot of biblically based principles. Like even the well, I'll talk about that another time. But the problem is that if the heart condition of the people that operate that law is not righteous, it can go astray easily. I mean, even Israel received the perfect righteous law, but they perverted the justice by taking bribes and other things that tell you not to do. Don't take a bribe. Don't take a gift in a matter of judgment. And so that's why it's spirit and truth. Because if you have this truth here without the spirit, and even without the wisdom or the prudence or the understanding to apply it, it's just a set of basic rules that any outsider can look in and be like, well, that's weird, Or some people can look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's righteous. And so verse 13, it gives a distinction of death, but accidental or not premeditated. And so motive is incredibly important. You will find here that motive is incredibly important in deciding a case, and pre-existing facts, pre-existing knowledge. In the case of the animal getting out, we'll talk about that in a second, changes how the case should be handled. And so again, if we're paying attention, we have guardrails for a lot of different areas of how to rectify situations. And so verse 15 here, it says, he that smites his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. And now this seems really harsh, but consider that disobedient children is one of the biggest problems this entire earth faces. And, having a healthy fear of mother and father does not seem like an extreme thing. Consider this is probably one of those ones that if the children knew the Torah, if they were properly instructed in the Torah from their youth, let's say you have a new community start somewhere and every child, just from the time they're raised, is taught this, how many of them would ever, even test that? And this is where I think this gets to the heart of what Paul's talking about, is that the Torah was not made for a righteous man, but for the wicked, for the man-stealers, for the abusers, and such and such. This command was made for that individual, right? Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. He that steals a man and sells him or be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. So this is like traffickers, right? Even what Joseph's brothers did to him, and so according to the Torah, maybe that Torah was added because of what the brothers did, or maybe that already existed. Honestly, that probably already existed. Why the brothers were shown mercy in that case, but nevertheless, we know that Yahuwah is going to have justice for everything. And so one of the things that really bothers a lot of people is the trafficking that's going on. And I guess it helps put me at ease knowing that he sees everything and he will repay. And that if his Torah is true and will be enacted, that everyone will get according to their works, is what Messiah says when he returns. And so why not I not be able to fight this fight myself here? He will. He will recompense to everyone. More, verse 17, he that curses his father or mother shall be surely put to death. Listen, the obedience of the children for their parents has got to be established in a home for it to succeed, and within an assembly, it has to. Having a bunch of rebellious and disobedient children does not work, will not work, and you know that. I'm not telling you something you don't know. Also, just honoring the aged is very important. It says, "You shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbath." So you can see it's how important that is. It's like grouped right there with the Shabbat command, and of course, command 4 and 5. Right, they're together. But even small details like this should go a long way. That makes you look at other areas of your life. It says, "You shall rise up before the gray-headed and honor the face of the old man, and fear Yahweh, I'm Elohim." And so it's like, like a small thing. Like, if my elder speaks to me, I will not stay seated. I will stand up and talk to them and give them honor. And so it's like that command can show you the Father's heart of just respect. And then does it have to just be gray-headed men? Are they the only ones that deserve respect? And then that's it. And then you foot off the wheel, or foot off the pedal. Yeah, you don't put your foot on the wheel. It's kind of weird. So, but should that teach us then to then also be respectful? Does that mean maybe it's a good idea to rise up and talk to everyone? Now I'm kind of convicting myself, because I do only do that specifically for the elderly or my elders. But the point is that he wants us to respect. And so that's really, if we're paying attention here, these right rulings, is that the Father is communicating to us that we have to have respect. And though the next couple verses here, 18 and 19, is talking about like a fight and one hurts somebody, and it doesn't have to be that. Let's say in our modern day, it could be more like a car accident, like you run into somebody and they have hospital bills and stuff because of what you did. It says right here, he shall pay for the time of his loss and cause him to be thoroughly healed. So we should be responsible for the medical bills and even for time lost at work. That's something that we see in this country. However, we see I don't know, but those of you that maybe commute a lot, like almost every city in this nation, almost half the billboards is lawsuit lawyers, right? Especially like accident lawyers and injury lawyers, and because it's like it has that form of this biblical precept, but it's an unhinged system that's based off of, if you get the right law firm and the right, attack dog, the hammer and the sledgehammer and the whatever, it's like then you can get more money, and so it's like, again, a form of righteousness, but it's just a crooked system that has a moldy root system to it. This is why we need a fresh system of justice that has those that are filled by the Spirit and selected by Yah to operate that system. That's the only way this will work. And that's why you see, again, this country is a perfect example of a form of godliness but denying their power, or a form of the godliness but it's only just a veneer. What's underneath is way worse. What's underneath is really yucky. And so this is basically lawsuit language. And so this shows us that a lawsuit is judicial, is right. So lawsuit also makes it sound much more negative. But this is very simple. You cause somebody to lose money or whatever. You should supply that, and that should just be a natural thing for us. Like, oh, hey, I did you wrong. Let me make you right, and this is if you read more homework, 1 Corinthians 6-11, and so lawsuits discourage, and so within our own system, within our own body, we shouldn't have to go to the American court system to judge our lawsuits. We should just be able to, like, especially in a church or assembly, you should have elders that should be able to impartially say, okay, let me hear the evidence, okay, and look at the extenuating circumstances or the testimonies or whatever, and then that elder should be able to say, okay, based off of the right rulings, this is what needs to happen. And there should just be an understanding, and everyone should agree, because it's not favoritism. Like in that case, if I was judging, it wouldn't be Adam preferring one or the other. It would be, hey, I don't care who you are. This is what the Torah says, that hey, brother A, you did this to brother B. Well, Yahweh says that. It's not me, right? And so this is how we can act as his emissaries or his messengers or his... at some point in the future, if we're found worthy, his kings and priests, to administer this justice across all the earth. And when we operate or try to rectify a situation that's outside of his justice system, we're operating in oppression, which is what this world does. And so consider, we were talking earlier about how, Bible justifies slavery. Consider, like, let's take the Atlantic slave trade, which is on the forefront of most people's mind. Consider if any of those slave or servant owners were abiding by the actual Torah. It even says here, if a man smite a servant or his maid with a rod and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished. Now, I will say in the Aramaic, it says that he shall also die. And it says, notwithstanding, if you continue a day or two, he shall not be punished. And so consider there's in another place, if you knock out the tooth of your servant, then he goes out for free. So it's like that does not, biblical guardrails for servitude does not equal any kind of justification for what happened in the colonial days of America and the slavery that was going on here and the brutality that the Africans that were brought over here suffered. And anyways, so I just want to make that distinction. I think it's important for us to know who Elohim is and who he's not, and what he represents and what he doesn't represent. And so, yeah. So this is an interesting passage that I've really been thinking about. This is a situation in verse 22. It says, if men strive and hurt a woman with child, so their fruit depart from her. so this is like a side. This is like an ancillary or a side thing that happens from two men fighting, right? And there's another version of this also when two men are fighting, and then the woman, it says, grabs his secrets, literally cut off her hand, and really just been thinking about this. I'm like, where's the punishment for fighting? Like, hey, if two men fight, they're both, out of the camp for a week. Or if two men fight, they should be jailed or pay a fine, or there's nothing. And I'm like, I'm definitely in a place where I don't want to add to or take away from the law. So I'm like, is fighting a sin? And I'm looking, there's not a whole lot to draw from. We have some extreme here. So Nehemiah, who was basically the acting governor or the king of the time of Judah, verse 21, this is someone that was like selling stuff or coming to sell stuff on the Sabbath, and says, then I testified against them and said to them, why lodge you about the wall? If you do so again, I will lay hands on you. And from that time forth, they came forth no more on the Sabbaths. And so this is Nehemiah threatening physical force on someone who is looking to break the Sabbath. And so, that's like, okay, and this was Yah's man. And I'm not saying here Nehemiah is perfect, so maybe one can be like, well, that was wrong of Nehemiah. Maybe. We also have the other perspective, 1 Timothy 3:3, that a leader should not, of course, be a drunkard. Now it says no striker. And another one, or it says also not a brawler, Actually, I think brawler is the one I was, striker is a different, striker I'm thinking like, no striking, right? But not a brawler. So a leader should not be someone that's so quick to fight, right? It should be like Moses, for example. Like everyone wanted to fight him and hate him and whatever. He wasn't a fighter. But do you think Moses would be the kind of guy that if he saw a guy mistreating a woman, that he wouldn't be like, hey, no, I'm going to mistreat you? Actually, that's exactly what happened, and that's how he got his wife, right? That there's shepherds that were trying to persecute them, and he drove them off, and he ended up marrying one of them, right? So it's like my question here, my overall question is fighting necessarily good? No. Who should want to fight? Should we be the type of men that should be ready to if the time called? And here's a question for you. So you have modern day, you're in a grocery store, and you see, let's say you see a man pushing his child and throwing him down, and just it's a little more than a spank, right? Or more than a spank, I'm talking like you have not obviously know who would do this, but I'm just giving an example. Or it doesn't even have to be a child. Let's just say you see a stronger man just kind of beating up on someone else that doesn't want to fight, and he's just like punching him, beating him. He's like, get away from me, no. So it's like, what do? Are you the person that's like filming it, like, whoa, I'm going to put this on my TikTok feed? Are you that person? Are you B, that's like, hey man, turn the other cheek? Or are you C, that you're ready to go in and handle the situation and subdue the one that's oppressing the weaker? So again, let's just say it's a man abusing a child. Would you be ready to step in, or would you be like, turn a cheek, bro? So anyways, this is a little off topic, but it's if this is divine law, Yahweh is very specific. And so I think the point is, the guardrails is, we should not be people that want to fight or fist fight or box, and we shouldn't just be so scrappy and ready to just throw down at it every time. That's not the kind of people we should be. We should be humble, reserved, right? I mean, it's like the lion analogy. The lion's kind of just is walking, and you've got hyenas like ready to, like, you got eagles around or birds like swooping, and the lion just is unharmed, right? But the point is that if the time calls, men should be men again. We're living in a day and age where people would rather video record it or just sit there and be like, oh, versus like a man being a man and being like, hey, no, I will not just stand here and allow you to do this. Because that's the heart of Leviticus 19. It says, well, here, since we're here, you shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. You shall not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shall you judge your neighbor. Then here it says, you shall not go up and down as a talebearer among my people. So this is one extreme. And then the other extreme is neither shall you stand against the blood of your neighbor. That means like staying quiet when you have the opportunity to stand up for somebody. Or in this case, we're talking about if you have the ability to withstand that man from beating that child, and you're just like, oh, are you filming this? To like, no, right? Like that's standing against the blood of your neighbor and just sitting there and just not doing anything. Anyway, so it's a little off topic, but I really try to look at the deeper things that maybe you might just gloss over when you read through, especially these right rulings. I want to glean everything. So the point of this is not like, oh, okay, yeah, what did you learn today in the Mishpatim? Yeah, but Adam basically said it's okay to fight. That shouldn't be the takeaway here. But there's two witnesses of fights where there's no repercussion for the fight itself, but ancillary or side things that happen because of that. And so, again, I don't like to fight. I think I've been in 2 fights in my entire life, and both of them I hated, right? And so I'm 44 years old. But I am here to figure out what the Torah does say and what it doesn't say. And it does not restrict a man from 2 men fighting. Matter of fact, there's probably some instances where, yeah, we'll just drop it at that, because I definitely don't want to just give my point here is not to give a license to fight. And so we already spent enough time on this. But what I will say is it's time for men to be men and to be willing to be the type of Nehemiah if the situation calls. So now on to kind of a bigger principle here that really does involve Messiah. I will say, just before I get into it, I do know some people that really used Messiah's words, which kind of surface level seems to do away with this eye for eye understanding. It's now looked at as negative. Oh, eye for eye. Oh, Messiah says don't do that. But I want to get to the principle of that. Let's read. Let's see here. We do know that one of the prophecies of Messiah is that right here, Yahweh is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law and make it honorable. So a messianic prophecy is to make the law, is to magnify it and make it honorable, right? To make it greater. And so here in Messiah says, you have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I say unto you that you resist not evil, but whoever shall smite you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue you with the law, take away your coat and let him have your cloak also. And so, I'm not mocking Messiah's words when I was like, turn the other cheek. What I'm saying is, if you're seeing some real danger, like the same thing can be said about what he's not saying is if an intruder comes in and goes for your wife, he's not saying, hey, honey, turn the other cheek. You need to, as a man, you need to take care of your wife. What Messiah is also not saying here is that all the judgments in the Torah are now just gone away with. He's talking from the perspective of the one who is hurt. So all these judicial proceedings are for the judges to rightly decide a matter. Now, you have the other position in which if you can be the plaintiff, right, the one with the problem. What he's basically saying is there's a better way. You don't even have to sue your brother. You can even just say, hey, you know what? The law says that you broke my lawnmower, but it's okay. It's no problem. It was an older model. Whatever. It's no problem. I loose you of that burden, brother. No big deal. That's what Messiah is saying. And, in the case of an eye lost, it's like, well, actually, let's read it in the book of Natsrim. I think there's a really interesting understanding of this given through here. It says the holy books, verse 48. This is chapter 16, verse 48. The holy books of the Yahudim say that an eye shall be taken for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but the words of the Torah must be interpreted with justice. So that's the whole point of what he's about to say here is when you look at that law, eye for eye, you have to look at that law with justice. Now, this is so awesome. This really helped me understand what he's really saying here. So if an eye be taken from he who put out another's, or a tooth from someone who has knocked out the tooth of another, is the loss made good in this manner? So very plainly, let's say I'm like, bam, right? And I like poke out your eye and it's like your eye is gone. And so we go to law and the judge is like, all right, Adam, line up. All right, now you stand in front of him and poke out his eye. Like, is the loss made good in this manner? And so what I think Messiah is saying is not changing this or saying that was bad and now I have something better, but let me tell you how to properly interpret this, and that gives us the understanding that there's a spiritual implication behind it. So listen, it says, so this is looking at that eye for eye matter with justice. Or if a one-eyed man causes him with two eyes to lose one, shall he be made blind and so suffer a great loss? So it's like, if I already have just one eye and I'm like, bam, and I knock out one of your eyes, or I do something, whatever, it's not just the good old poke, whatever, it's something. So if I'm already missing one eye and I gouge out your eye, so now we go to law and they're like, all right, Adam, you're now blind. Is that punishment now equal justice? Because you went from being able to see something, at least half, to not being able to see at all. So is that just? He's like, shall he be made blind and suffer a greater loss? Would that still be just by looking at the Torah and interpreting it with justice? Or if a man with two eyes causes a man with one eye to be made, so I just explained that here. So if a man with two eyes causes a man with one eye to be made blind, shall he lose both? Henceforth, let the loss be made good in silver or through labor. So it says, for now the law of revenge shall be overruled by the law of retribution. So I don't believe that he's framing that this was bad and it was revengeful. I think perhaps maybe what it had become, and consider like the example I gave earlier, how in the American court system and the injury law, it's become like a profit machine. And so consider that maybe the context of this is what the right rulings had become a law of type of revenge. Shall be overruled by the law of retribution. So retribution makes things right. All laws shall now be administered under the rule of recompense. And so recompense is really what the right rulings actually teach. And so, like in a similar example, we'll learn more about this in the next chapter, but it's like there's this distinction with thievery that like thievery is not really it's not an offense, it's not a punishable offense by incarceration or even or even by death. Theft, with at least in Yah's eyes, theft is dealt with by a monetary repayment. We'll see in some cases double, in some cases 4 or 5 times. And so contrast that with the American system, where the jails have become also a profit center. And so now it's like, thievery, instead of focusing on making the person who is wronged right. Now, there are a lot of times when theft is involved, there is a restitution. Restitution is then added, but a lot of those people that are sent to jail and then their ability to earn income even afterwards is harmed. A lot of times that person never even receives that. Whereas the Bible, the scriptures, focuses on the thief restoring the money back is primary. Perhaps there's different types of thieves that were maybe violent that needed to be restrained and whatnot, but the overall principle of thievery is restoring what was lost, and in a lot of cases even more. To the 4 and 5 times repayment should steer thieves away from doing it. And anyways, yeah, I'm just looking at some of my notes here. Yeah. So I think I just summarized my notes for you. And so, and also here, Yeah, so that's good enough there. And so when we look at matters and the damage that's done, it's like there should be fair balances. I think that is really what the extreme of eye for eye. This is an extreme. Like, you caused my eye to go, your eye's got to go. Like, that's the extreme. But I think what's being trying to be portrayed here is the value. It should be value for value, right? And so this is like, if you cause something to happen here, and so consider if like mischief was the cause of this woman's life to depart, the baby to depart, life for life, that's murder then, right? If so, it's like this shows that, like, a man punching a woman and causing her baby to depart, that you then murdered, is what this is showing. But in general, I think this is just giving us the guardrails here. And so this is what I was sharing here earlier, if a man smite the eye of his servant. So even Yah has protections in place for servants. So again, in a lot of cases, the servitude, like it's like Abraham had lots of servants. You don't think that all of his servants were, well, maybe I can't say all of them, but you don't think that in general they were happy people that were being well taken care of, well fed, well provided for. He wasn't like a slumlord, right? If something was wrong with any of the housing, he would be the kind of guy that would fix it. Like, that's the kind of stuff, right? And so it's like, versus like out in the world with shady landlords and shady employers. And that's what I'm saying. Just overall, it's not a bad system, and how, yeah. All right. So, here, this is another one. If an ox gore a man, right, that he dies, then the ox shall be stoned and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be innocent. So it's like, then you have the secondary situation where if he knew already that his animal was an issue and didn't do anything about it, then he's liable up to being put to death. Or then it gives also provision. This is also the principle that allows the interpretation that Nazrim gives, if that was the words of Messiah. That book is still, in my opinion, still under review at all times, and because it's outside of the canon. But it says here, but this is really the understanding of what we just read, of how to interpret what we just read up here. And a lot of times that's how Yah works, a little here, a little there. And so even if we look at the eye for eye, can it not be interpreted right here, lay on the sum of money, and that's essentially what we're reading. But the point here is that when we're investigating a matter, there's two situations. There's situation A where the man had never, I had no idea that this ox was aggressive. I'm so sorry, and such. But it's like, if he already knew that this was an animal that got out a lot and was an issue, same thing. And it's like this mishpatim should echo into many facets of life. This should apply to your dog. If your dog gets out, there's situation A and then situation B. If you knew that Cujo got out all the time and bites people and you didn't do anything about it, now you're guilty. So this gets into negligence. So this right here is called, in our modern term, is called negligence. This, I love it when it is like the first. So negligent. Let's just go there. Marked by or given to neglect, especially habitual, or it says failing to exercise the care expected of a reasonably prudent person in like circumstances. Let's go back here. It says failure to exercise the care. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we see this also in the parapet command in Deuteronomy, where it's like, if you have a house, you have to build basically a guardrail around it so people don't just walk off and fall and kill themselves or get really seriously hurt. And so the understanding there is not like, hey, everyone has to build especially us in American, with the pitched roofs and no one's hanging out up there, so you don't have to build parapets. But like, the general principle is if anything that's in your care or under your ownership that can harm life, we'll see that with the pit. If you dig a pit and someone gets injured because of it and you didn't cover it up, that's your fault. Like, you caused somebody harm. You need to make it right. And so again, Torah is much more than just Shabbat, feast days, zitzit, clean eating. It's a whole way of life of how to make things right if you do someone harm. We'll read this in the next chapter. Like if you make a fire and it breaks out and like burns someone's field up, that's negligence. You need to make it right and you restore it. And so this may just seem like a monotonous bunch of rules, but consider for an overall shalom-filled life, this actually gives a lot of peace knowing that whatever happens, we have a divine law to rest in that, hey, we can have justice no matter what. And I don't know about you, if you don't thirst for justice, you need to search your heart and ask Abba to put justice in your heart, because that's really one of the biggest problems with this world is a lack of justice, especially the fake veneer justice. It's even worse, right? Because it's pretending to be something it's not, and it's just even yuckier. Yeah. So anyways, let's go to 22. So again, remember, motive is incredibly important. Surrounding facts, very important when looking at a case. And consider everything from these really important matters that are being written right here to even in your home with your children. Like, I don't know about you, those of you who have multiple children, there's disputes. Now, there's different levels of that, but things go wrong. People get hurt. Are you just going to favor the one favorite child and not hear the other and be oppressive? Or are you going to hear the old child, the young child, right? The smarter one, the less intelligent one, maybe the more emotional one, the less emotional one. This can really, again, the Torah can really echo and permeate every part of our life. And that's just where I'm at. So we see here the pit, right? It's kind of the same thing. And so here we also see damage being done by an animal and how basically they both bear the burden. But if there is foreknowledge that this animal hurt people before or hurt animals before, then he bears the burden. So foreknowledge of things, again, to be a righteous judge, if any of you are out there, which again, if you're parents, you are in the seats of judgment, at least judging over your house. You know, this is especially with your children. We know it's not, don't judge me and I won't judge you, right? Don't judge me, son, and I won't judge you. Like, come on, that's not it. So you are judges in your own home. So even if nothing else, you should be able to glean some of these things in your home. And hopefully you don't have your children have oxen goring other children, right? I'm just kidding. Okay, let's go to Exodus 22. Where am I? Here we go. Shemot, Exodus, chapter 22.
If a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it, or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox, and 4 sheep for a sheep. If a thief be found breaking up, and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. If a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field, of the best of his own field, and of the best of his own vineyard, shall he make restitution. If fire break out and catch in thorns, so that the stacks of grain, or the standing grain, or the field be consumed therewith, he that kindled the fire shall surely make restitution. If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to guard, and to be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges, to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods. For all manner of transgression, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challenged to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges, and whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass, or an ox, or a sheep, or any beast to guard, and it die, or be hurt, or driven away, no man seeing it, then shall an oath of Yahuwah be between them both, that he has not put his hand unto his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept thereof, and he shall not make it good. And if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution unto the owner thereof. And if it be torn in pieces, then let him bring it for witness, and he shall not make good that which was torn. And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, and it be hurt or die, the owner thereof being not with it, he shall surely make it good. But if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good. If it be a hired thing, it came for his hire. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his woman. And if a father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. You shall not suffer a witch to live. Whosoever lies with a beast shall surely be put to death. He that sacrifices unto the Elohim, save unto Yahweh only, he shall be utterly destroyed. You shall neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for ye were strangers in the land of Mizraim. Ye shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. And my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your women shall be widows, and your children fatherless. If you lend money to any of my people that is poor by you, you shall not be to him as a usurer, neither shall you lay upon him usury. If you at all take your neighbor's raiment to pledge, you shall deliver it unto him by the time that the sun goes down. For that is his covering only, it is his raiment for his skin, wherein shall he sleep. And it shall come to pass, when he cries unto me, that I will hear, for I am gracious. You shall not revile the Elohim, nor curse the ruler of your people. You shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe fruit, and of your liquors, the firstborn of your sons shall you give unto me. Likewise shall you do with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with this dam. On the 8th day you shall give it to me. And ye shall be holy men unto me. Neither shall ye eat any flesh that is torn of beast in the field. Ye shall cast it to the dogs.
All right. Let's go to the beginning of 22. This is a really important one. I guess right away, the whole double, quadruple, or quintuple thing here. Obviously, the main idea behind that is to dissuade or discourage a thief from doing so because of the possible punishment. And obviously this just lets us know that since the ox is more valuable, it's like the stakes are even higher. It's like, I don't know. But this is actually what I was saying is really important. This is talking about a thief with two different situations. If a thief be found breaking up, or in our terms, breaking in, right? Breaking in and entering, and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. If the sun be risen upon him, or if the sun has risen, there shall be blood shed for him, for he shall make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. And so this just clarifies that a thief is not worthy of death, period. That's just, he's making that very clear. And here, this just gives us further investigative precedence or understanding. And also, it gives a distinction of self-defense at home. Obviously, if it's at nighttime, you cannot readily know if someone's found in your house. It's like, it's startling, right? Who he is, how many there are, whether he's armed, whether he intends merely theft, whether he will attack if confronted, what exactly this person is doing, right? And it's startling. It's like, but in daytime, it's making that distinction that it should be much clearer that a thief is simply being a thief, which isn't like, oh, hey, thief, hey, morning, good to see you. Yeah, how's it going? Cool. All right, shalom, have a good day. That's not what it's saying, but it's saying that there's a distinction, and it also is just putting more guardrails for life. Life is so important. A thief should just be able to make restitution and then repent and never do it again. A thief should not have to suffer to die. But it does show us that, self-defense, especially when there's uncertainty here, there's a difference between someone, because in both situations, right, the thief dies here, the thief dies here, but there's blood guilt and then there's no blood guilt. And so it's like the difference is like, going to the fridge at night just for water, right? Not for any late night snack. I'm eradicating that from my life. Pray for me. I want to eradicate late night snacks. But anyways, I'm going to the fridge late at night to get water or ice cubes or something. And I come around the corner and it's like, and I'm like, oh, what is this person? And I just grab the handy baton right there and I'm like, whack, and boom, right in the head. And they're boom, dead. That's all because of the chaos, and I don't know who you are, and why do you have a thing over your face, and I don't know. Versus daytime, like, hey, who are you? What are you doing in my house? Oh, you're hungry? Here. Obviously I'm oversimplifying it, but there's a difference. And I think if you're really paying attention, life should be protected at all costs, even for thieves. I think right. And I think if we're also paying attention, that property itself is not worth a man's life, right? In the confusion of forcible nighttime intrusion, a defender is not held blood guilty when the intruder dies, but where the circumstances permit the thief to be dealt with as a thief rather than an apparent mortal threat, killing him is blood guilt. The proper judgment is restitution, right? And so the Torah here gives us these understandings here, which is very, very helpful. And this is just more of, because the Torah here also tells us the property is important. It's not worth a man's life, though, is that distinction. If fire break out. So this is just, again, this is kind of giving us different scenarios that if you wrong somebody, you need to make it right. And, even I always wondered, because I'm like, and really thinking about this here, and to me, it gives me a little more shalom about the whole Jacob and Esau interaction. Because like Esau's like, hey, I got 400 people here, I'm ready to kill you. And Jacob's like, here, let me buy your love with a bunch of presents, a bunch of gifts. But maybe not so fast. Maybe that's not what it was. Maybe Jacob was doing restitution. Maybe he was doing right ruling. Maybe he was repairing the damage he had done through a financial means, which we see here is not unrighteous. And so maybe that's exactly what Jacob is doing there, rather than just buying his brother off. If that makes sense. I don't know. Just some thoughts. That really just came to mind just now as we were reading. So if that's from Yah, praise Yah. If it's just my thoughts, then it's just my thoughts. My apologies. Yeah. So let's see. I want to also talk about this is here. This is very important in our generation. Very still relevant. About just borrowing stuff from people, and if it's in your possession and it's broken, you should just automatically just make it good. It shouldn't be like, we shouldn't be quick to be like, oh, well, it was old anyways, or it was just like let's just talk cars, right? Let's just say you have person A and person B. Person A borrows a car from person B, and they drive it, and the engine blows. Person A should be willing to fix the motor or whatever, because it was in their care. Now, here's where, the heart and understanding the Torah, but also in light of Messiah, being able to just say, you know what? No, it's okay, brother. Hey, it was old, had a lot of miles on it. Definitely wasn't your fault. It's okay, no problem. But also the Torah does give this distinction. If the owner there be with it, he shall not make it good. So situation C, you have both of them in the car together, and I'm like, hey, you know what, person A, go ahead and drive. I'll just sit in the passenger seat. Do you mind driving my car? Let's go. And we're driving, and it blows up. The Torah already says, you're with him. You can see that there was no guile in him. Your equipment just broke. Because this here gives reasonable doubt in favor of the property owner that it's possible that there could have been neglect, there could have been just mishandling of your property, and so it rules in favor of the property owner. But if the property owner is there and sees that there is no possibility of neglect or it wasn't their fault, then yeah. So just some things to consider. This is verse 16 is interesting because, again, people on the outside looking into the Torah read this, and even some translations, I think, translate this as rape, if a man rape a maid, which is not the case because Deuteronomy 22 already gives us the rape commandment, which is death. It says, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, lie with her, they be found. The man that lay with her, I'm sorry, this is not the rape one. This is the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver. She shall be his wife because he has humbled her and may not put her away all his days. The other one, and so, yeah, there's a different commandment for rape. And I just want to make the distinction. This is not talking about rape. Entice can be like, let's look at the word entice. It can be persuade. Could be does say deceive, and what does that sound like? That could be like, in today's culture, promising a girl all these things, and then laying with her, and then be like, see ya, right? So what Yah is doing here is basically being like, no, man, you can't just deceive this woman and you walk away. You will marry her. So this is not forcing a woman to marry her rapist. Consider that word entice, which happens still in today's days. A man sweeps a woman off her feet, or the word romanticizes her, whatever that is, says all these sweet promises, and how the story goes. Well, Yahweh is actually putting this in protection for the woman, that, hey, you can't go around having one night stands and defiling all my daughters, because you do that, you will marry her. And so, anyways, that's just my understanding, is this is a proper safeguard against a culture that we live in here, that a man can just lay with a woman, a girl, and then just go on about his business and keep moving. That's not allowed in Yahweh's society and culture. You can't do that. And so what it's saying here is that if you're willing to get into the marriage bed, you're going to get married, right? And consider this is a whole different passage that talks about rape, specifically that if a man rape a woman, death. This is not the same thing. But so this lay hold here, this version says entice. It's the the Deuteronomy version that says lay hold, right? And let's see, lay hold on her, take her, grasp. Yeah. So some people I think mistakenly handle this as rape, but this is not a violent ordeal here. This is not a rape situation. So if what he is saying, if the woman, falls for his tricks, whatever, it's I think it's a lesson for both of them, right? That they want to get into the marriage bed according to Yah's Torah and justice. They get married, and I think that's just a righteous decision. That would, if the whole world was operated in Torah, it'd be perfect. It would be one man and one woman. And I know there's provisions for multiple wives in the Bible, David, Abraham, stuff like that. But I think the overall question is, what is the better way? And I think if you look at the tumult that was in Abraham's house and in David's house, and Hannah being oppressed by the other wife, and I think we assume that that's her adversary, I guess, but it doesn't specifically say that. But the point is that I think I couldn't believe that I didn't know this before, but I wanted to know what naturally occurs all across the earth between males and females. And wouldn't you know, it's literally a 51% to 49% male to woman ratio across the entire earth. There's some countries where there's, I guess, like China, where there's some manipulation to that numbers, especially in past generations, where I think they were only allowed to have two, and I think they were allowed, I can't remember the extent of what goes on there, but wouldn't you know, look it up for yourself, almost across the entire population, it's almost 50-50. So if the entire earth then was walking in Torah, then the perfect model, in my opinion, would be one man, one woman. And so, again, I know even in this Mishpatim, there's provisions for additional wives. But again, I guess the question is what would be the preferred method? And just from a bird's eye view, if you're from a creator's perspective, if you're almost making it almost a direct 50-50, but just to make sure there's even just a few more men than women, what's he saying here? Now, if his creation was women 7-1, then maybe there's be a discussion to talk about. But that's not the case. It's 50-50 almost, 51-49. So I just thought that was very interesting. And because we know he controls all births, every one. And so he makes sure that there is a 50-50 distribution, boys and girls, males and females. Oh, that's pretty cool. Someone double check me on that. I mean, maybe the computer's lying to me. Maybe the ones and zeros is lying to me. But that was the conclusion that I found. So, consider this commandment does not stand for like Daniel and the others in Babylon. They were not living in a Torah-led world. They were living in Babylon. And so like we are now, I mean, there's witches all over the place. So we're not going around and stoning witches. But in a community, when he comes and establishes his kingdom in his community, no, they will not be allowed to live. And he even says that, where does he say that? I think it's, yeah. So this is the deliverance. I will cut off all witchcrafts out of your hand, and you shall have no more soothsayers. Your graven image is also what I cut off, and your standing images. And so all this stuff is going to be destroyed at his coming. And so when his reset comes, everybody's fearing this reset. The whole world is getting you to fear his reset. It's such a spin. They're getting you to fear his reset in one world currency, because guess what? The whole world is already operating on the American petrodollar. You're already in a one world currency. They just don't want to give up their rule and claim to it, because Yahweh will have a one world currency and a one world order that will replace their current garbage order. Sorry, I don't usually talk like that. I don't like the system, but anyways, I shouldn't talk like that. Either way, but when that comes, witches will not be allowed to live, and this precept going across the entire world would warn anyone that would want to practice witchcraft, especially if you had judges in every gate that would be willing to execute this. Then it's done. It's over. It's squashed. Verse 19, this is an interesting one, right? Whoever lies with the beast shall surely be put to death. Very thankful to Brother Aaron Parks here on site, one of our leaders here, that made a really good point the other day. We were talking about the Sabbath, and one of the points that people bring up for not having to do the Sabbath today is that nowhere in the New Testament is there a specific command to do the Sabbath, even though it's written everywhere and they kept getting together on the Sabbath and all these things happen on the Sabbath, but there's no direct command. Like Paul says, hey, even though Messiah ascended, you still need to keep the Sabbath. Although in my opinion, I think it's written in Hebrews 4 that a Sabbath still remains. But the interesting part of that is like, in a similar way, this is not repeated. A caution against bestiality was not echoed in the New Testament. So if they're consistent in their theology and understanding, then this would no longer be valid either. So people can then do this. Obviously, it's not, and so it's an interesting point to bring up, and so, yeah. And not afflicting widow, fatherless children. Of course, we're supposed to do the opposite. This is a pretty stark warning. If we afflict them, then he will hear their cry, and he's like, "I'm going to kill you." Right? The Creator of heaven and earth says this: "I will kill you." Look at that. Like, stare at that for a second with me. Hold on. Like, zone. Like, put your glasses on if you need to. It's so crazy. I found old school Adam Fink glasses from like back in pre-2021 days. Let me make sure I can see this right. So we need to be very, very observant that we do not afflict widows, fatherless children, or I think, right, just oppressing people in general. He says, "I will kill you." Whew. Praise God, I still don't need those. It like messes up my eyes now. Okay. If you lend any money to my people that is poor by you, you shall not be him as a usurer, neither shall you lay upon him usury. So interest. So it's like you should want to be willing to lend from a willing heart, not out of compulsion, and definitely not to seek gain. But we should just have a willing heart. Sirach 29 talks a little bit about lending and borrowing. He that shows mercy will lend to his neighbor, and he that strengthens him with his hands keeps the commandments. Lend to your neighbor in the time of his need, and in turn repay your neighbor promptly. Confirm your word and keep faith with him, and on every occasion you will find what you need. So that's kind of one thought. And here's another thought. This is why a lot of people just don't lend right here in general. Many persons regard a loan as a windfall. So it's like you loan money to somebody and you're just like, I'll never see that again. And cause trouble to those who help them. A man will kiss another's hand until he gets a loan, and will lower his voice in speaking of his neighbor's money. But at the time of repayment, he will delay. He will pay in words of unconcern. He will find fault with the time. Right? It's always basically like just excuses. If the lender exert pressure, he will hardly get back half and will regard that as a windfall. If he does not, the borrower has robbed him of his money, and he has needlessly made him his enemy. And he will repay him with curses and reproaches, and instead of glory, he will repay him with dishonor. Because of such wickedness, therefore, many have refused to lend. They have been afraid of being defrauded needlessly. So it's like, this is talking about like, since this is a normal occurrence with lending, people are like, yeah, right, I'm not going to lend to you. Nevertheless, be patient with a man in humble circumstances, and do not make him wait for your alms. And so this actually talking about how the right rulings, how taking a simple like ox scoring should be able to be applied to many situations in life. This should also have this precept we just learned here, where it's like, yeah, all this bad stuff happens and you may not ever get that back, but it says nevertheless, right, be patient and just lend and even just give. It doesn't have to even have to be a loan. Why can't you just give, right? And I think is the heart here. But Victoria and I think we learned how this can also be applied in other areas. Just a small example. We've been doing this ministry for a while, and we've had a lot of families come and want to build relationships, and just one after another leave. And a lot of times it's when we stick to what the Torah states and righteousness, there's people that separate needlessly because of the calendar and, different reasons for separation. But it's like, we're so thankful for, we have so many amazing families that have really just stuck with us through all the hard times, but most haven't. And that takes a toll, especially like we like to have families over for dinner and get to know people, and it's like, man, almost all of them break your heart. It's like it's like, how long is it going to take for you to hate us or turn your back on us? A week, a month, a year, a couple years? Other than a handful, which we're thankful for, have all done that to us. It's, I don't know, 80-90% of the people we've run into, maybe even. And it made us want, there was a time where I think we just closed off, and we're like, we don't really want to make all these new relationships all the time, because it's like almost everyone turns their back on us. And so it kind of like, we wanted to recluse a little bit, like, never mind. But this precept got me to change my mind back around, because the whole thing is like, all this bad stuff happens because of lending, but it says, even so, do the right thing and lend, and even just do it in a manner where you don't even have to get your money back. In a similar way, we're like, you know what? No, we're just going to keep building relationships with people that want to walk in the same walk we do. And even if 90% of them, even from this point forward, the people we meet, even 90% of you hate us down the road, it's like, we're still going to do the right thing. We're not going to be closed off. We're still going to keep our heart ready and open for people who do want to love and do the right thing and whatever. So the point is that precept can also permeate a lot of different parts of our lives. And so this is an interesting precept here: not cursing the Elohim, nor curse the ruler of your people. Literally, Sirach 21:27 says, when the ungodly curses Satan, he curses his own soul. I don't think that what this means is that the godly can curse Satan. I think the righteous man just knows his place, that even Satan, it says, the scripture says that he is the anointed cherub. So until he is thrown out of heaven, which some could argue that he already has, I would say he still at least has heavenly access, because I believe he has the ability to protest against us or to accuse us day and night until Revelation 12, where the kingdom comes, then Satan's thrown down. And so it's kind of like a David-Saul thing, where it's like Saul was oppressing David, but David's like, I'm not going to lift my hand against the anointed. And so I'm not sitting here lifting up Satan as some great anointed, but I am saying he is an anointed cherub. And so I'm learning my place, that he's in a higher position, if you will, than myself, especially if he still has heavenly access. I don't. I mean, we do in a spiritual sense when we get into prayer, and we can boldly approach the throne. But in a similar way, like, if he has a heavenly access and he hasn't been thrown down yet, I'm not going to curse him. I'm not going to open my mouth against him. Especially like in a modern day Christian sense, where they're like, Satan is under my foot, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. You want to talk like that, but I won't. Jude 1:9, because this is the example. Michael, it says, yet Michael, the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, did not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, Yahweh rebuke you. So, I don't know. But going back to here, you shall not revile or curse the Elohim. So, what that point is that you have, Satan, the devil, the serpent, and you have his council. You have the rulers, the angelic rulers, like the Prince of Persia we see in the book of Daniel, the Prince of Media. These are cosmic or heavenly beings that are in higher positions than us. And so this is, in my opinion, a level of respect that David understood here, nor curse the ruler of your people. And so I think David just took it a step further to, Saul, do not kill the anointed of your leaders. And so that's why I'm just not going to curse Satan. I don't know. Does that make sense? And then of course the rest is tithing, and whatnot. So I want to get into Exodus 23. Let's go ahead and head there now.
Shemot,
Exodus chapter 23.
You shall not raise a false report. Put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shall you speak in a cause, to decline after many, to pervert judgment. Neither shall you countenance a poor man in his cause. If you meet your enemy's ox or his ass going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him again. If you see the ass of him that hates you lying under his burden, and would forbear to help him, you shall surely help with him. You shall not pervert the judgment of your poor in his cause. Keep far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay you not, for I will not justify the wicked. And you shall take no gift, for the gift blinds the wise, and perverts the words of the righteous. Also you shall not oppress a stranger, for ye know the heart of a stranger, seeing ye were strangers in the land of Mizraim. And 6 years you shall sow your land, and shall gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie still, that the poor of your people may eat. What they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner you shall deal with your vineyard and with your olive yard. 6 days you shall do your work, and on the 7th day you shall rest, that your ox and your ass may rest, and the sons of your handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. And in all things that I have said unto you, be guarded, and make no mention of the name of other Elohim, neither let it be heard out of your mouth. 3 times you shall keep a feast unto me in the year. You shall guard the feast of matzah, unleavened bread. You shall eat matzah 7 days as I command you, in the time appointed of the month of Eve, for in it you came out from Mizraim, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of Katsir, harvest, the first fruits of your labors, which you have sown in the field, and the feast of Asif, in gathering, which is in the end of the year, when you have gathered your labors out of the field. 3 times in the year all your males shall appear before Adonai Yahuwah. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with hametz, leavened bread. Neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. The first of the firstfruits of your land you shall bring into the house of Yahuwah Elohika. You shall not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. Behold, I send an angel before you, to guard you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. And if you shall indeed obey his voice, and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto your enemies, and an adversary unto your adversaries. For my angel shall go before you, and bring you in unto the Emorym, and the Hittim, and the Perizim, and the Kenainim, and the Hivim, and the Yevusim, and I will cut them off. You shall not bow down to their Elohim, nor serve them, nor do after their works, but you shall utterly overthrow them, and quite break down their images. And ye shall serve Yahuwah Elohim, and he shall bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of you. There shall nothing cast their young, nor be barren in your land, and the number of your days I will fulfill. I will send my fear before you, and will destroy all the people to whom you shall come, and I will make all your enemies turn their backs unto you. And I will send hornets before you, but shall drive out the Hivi, and the Kenaini, and the Hittite from before you. And I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against you. By little and little I will drive them out before you, until you be increased, and inherit the land. And I will set your bonds from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Pelishtim, and from the desert unto the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land unto your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall cut no covenant with them, nor with their Elohim. They shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. For if you serve their Elohim, it will surely be a snare unto you.
Man, here at the top, 23, false witnesses. Man, let's take a look at this real quick here. You shall not raise a false report, nor put your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Listen, the punishment for being a false witness is pretty righteous in my opinion. It says, then you shall do unto him as he hath thought to do unto his brother. So shall you put away the evil from among you. Now, a couple important things. So literally, whatever the false witness is witnessing against that person and what their punishment or what their punishment would have been, the person that brought the false report gets that judgment. And this is it right here. Some of these really harsh seeming laws is this right here. Not harsh. Like, this is definitely, I think anyone can agree with this, but it's like when we get into Deuteronomy and, it's like, oh, wait, you keep the law? You're going to go stone your children? And it's like, those laws exist, in my opinion, hopefully to never be enacted. So it's like, okay, let's say Messiah comes right now and we have community reset and we're all living in community. I'm thankful that there would be a law for that so that all children would be taught that all the time, and they would know what would happen if they strike their parents, if they curse them, whatever, etc. This is it right here. So shall you put away the evil from among you. Because I'll tell you, this may seem crazy, but if you had a community, and let's just say that there was a child, and it was literally just beating up their mom, and because this child in the stoning argument does not seem like an 8-year-old. This is one that's called a drunkard and a glutton. It's just maybe like a 22-year-old, maybe just sitting around and doing nothing, just drinking, abusing their parents, hitting, and they've tried. And if that person, that 20-year-old, was taken out to the city gates and executed, and all the community watched that, don't tell me that every single child that sees that, which you may be like, oh, that's brutality for them to see it, not so fast, that would instill a fear in them and every other child from the future, being like, you know what, I saw that happen to so-and-so. That's why when they came out of, and how I know that this is how he operates, when they came out of Egypt, right? Jericho, that family that stole the stuff from there, because I said earlier that the thieves should not be put to death. That's not Yahweh's determination. But when he gives a direct order, don't do this, don't take from anywhere, and he gave that warning, that whole family was executed in front of everybody. Everyone saw it. And that should have sent echoes into the entire community to not do that again. That's the whole point. So shall you put evil away from among you. And same thing with like the Korah incident. Like, the people have to have extreme events, right, to like get it. And only a rebellious mindset or heart would be like, oh, that's just too harsh, or oh, he's a vengeful God, or no, he's just a good parent. And I think he's teaching us good parents, good parenting, to train up our children in the way, to never depart. The whole point of that, the counter to that stoning argument is, if you do your job properly from day one, that should never happen, right? So maybe something along the way was missed there by those parents. But it's interesting. The old saying is, a person can be smart, but you get a group of people together and all of a sudden, I don't know why that's not the case. And this is typically what happens, especially, I don't know if you've ever been to like a rally or a riot, or, it's people just go crazy. But that doesn't have to be those extremes. I don't know what just happened. It doesn't have to be those extremes to follow after a multitude. You see, I've seen in a lot of... anyways, we'll just move on from this topic. This here is important because it's like a lot of us know of the financial injustices today. And I think a lot of us are taught like the Robin Hood mentality, like, oh, that's the rich big guy, we can rob from him and give to the poor. In general, that's not an okay thing, especially in dealing with judgment. It's in a matter of judgment or justice. So you can have like a rich man and you can have a poor man, and it's like the judge can be like, well, gosh, this guy's rich and this guy has no money. I'm gonna judge in his favor because he can really use that. That eliminates Yah and his divine ruling, and now it's injustice, even if it's done with a right heart. So that helps us understand that even though the judge would want to help the poor man in his cause, if it's not righteous, it's injustice. And so consider that a lot of things can be done seeming to be nice or kind, but if it goes against right ruling, it's injustice and it's oppression. And of course, here this is a Torah, Shalom and Torah. Now, it's a Torah principle to love your neighbor. And it even gives us the example of their property, like, hey, take care of it. You can't like look through the blinds and be like, oh, honey, looks like the miller's ox is out again. I ain't dealing with it. Right? You're just like, no. Hey, old Blue, come on, let's take you back to Paul here. Come on back. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Old Blue here's for you. Have a great day. Blessings, shalom. I don't know. I don't do really good with impressions, but it's like we can't hide from that. Because the point is that we have to be examples. We have to do unto others as you would want to do unto them. Flip it around. Let's say your animal gets out, or let's say your child runs out the front door and you don't see it, and your neighbor, wouldn't you want them to be like, even if they don't like you or you don't like them or whatever, wouldn't you want them to be like, hey, thanks for returning my property back to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. You would want them to do that, right? So that's what we do for them. So our job is to not pervert the judgment in general. We can't get in the way of deciding a case on our own feelings, our own emotions, our own wants, our own biases. It needs to be impartially looked at, just the facts, just the evidence, just the testimonies, just, hearing out both sides, race, financial situation, all those different should not be in it, right? Whether, friend or not, impartial. And that's what I really appreciate about Yah. And the whole world could use that, to be honest with you. I think every nation faces a little bit of injustice within their justice system. I think everyone's ready for a reset. But just Matthew 5, obviously great words from Messiah. Let's see, it says here, you have heard that it has been said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he makes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do you more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be therefore perfect, even as your Father which in heaven is perfect. And that's what I want to strive for. Messiah says it a couple times to be perfect. And so he wouldn't mention that if it wasn't possible. And so that's what I'm shooting for. I don't know about you. What about you guys out there? Can I get an amen? All right. It says, keep far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay you not, for I'll not justify the wicked. And this is part of his name. We've been talking a lot about the real name of Yahuwah. Yahweh. Some people don't like it when I say Yahweh. They're like, it's not Yahweh, it's Yahuwah. Like, oh, okay. But here the real name is merciful, gracious, long-suffering, abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty. So now part of his name is acting righteously in justice. Not injustice, but in justice. And if we're bearing his name and we're going to walk in his name, that means that we're going to uphold justice. That means that we don't just turn a blind eye to the guilty and be like, whatever. It's not my problem. And then, of course, you shall take no gift for the blind. The gift blinds the wise and perverts the words of the righteous. So consider the gift part is only in light of judging or ruling. And so this, in my opinion, this goes right to the American political system. So even though there's the justice system has a form of justice, well, those that make the laws and are part of the executive branch, you have the whole lobbying process, and you have the donors, and it gets crazy really quickly. And so some people will take this verse and be like, you can't ever give anybody a gift. A gift is pagan. Like, that's not what it's saying. Messiah even says, you that know how to give good gifts, right? This is talking about gift in direct relation to like bribery. It's talking about bribery. We'll read Micah 7, I think, in a bit. That gets right to this and the problem with the modern day system we have. Again, it's like the concept of the police force is a good thing. Like, me personally, I'm glad that there's stop signs, that there's traffic lights. I'm thankful that there's police officers that enforce traffic violations and other safety concerns, because when I drive on the road, I like the peace and comfort knowing that most people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Of course, you've got, occasional this and that, but in general, people follow the rules, and those rules wouldn't be happening, or people wouldn't be adhering to it unless there was a police force to enforce that. So I, in turn, am thankful for police. While a lot of people are coming out of Babylon and hating judges and police, consider that the general principle of the police force is a good thing. Now, then you add in bribes and just people with bad hearts, or just are evil operating within that system. That's when the whole thing just falls apart. Same thing with the judicial system. So this is not saying that buying your children Sukkot presents or even just a gift is not a bad thing, and buying your spouse a gift. So gifts are not pagan. This is just talking about in light of justice or injustice, if you will. So this is also cool, right? The land should also be treated with justice and right ruling. And doing right ruling to the land lets it rest every seventh year. And it's interesting that in the 1930s, this country realized what happens when you don't do this. I just want to read a little excerpt. This is from Quora. Did I even say that right? Yeah. So it says, the Dust Bowl of the 1930s came about because the land was continuously farmed and the nutrients of the land were depleted to a point that could no longer support vegetation. All things need to have their nutrients renewed periodically. This is true of the land as well as mankind. Since the Dust Bowl, farmers routinely allow a portion of their land to go fallow, usually on a field rotational basis. Many even grow crops that leave a residue to be worked back into the ground, such as soybeans and corn. God, in his infinite wisdom, knew that anything material would, through the process of aging, deteriorate, and that occasional renewing by the input of new nutrients would be necessary. The renewing of nutrients slows the process of deterioration, whether it is man or plants or animals or even the land. And that is the reason for God declaring the Sabbath year. That is also the reason why fertilization is such a necessary component of growing plants, whether in your flower garden or on a large farm. That is, incidentally, the reason for his declaring the Sabbath day for man. And it goes on a couple more things. But so it's like you even treat your land like, well, remember, go back to the servant law. They work 7 years, and the seventh they go out for free. And so in a similar way, you work the land for 6 years, and on the seventh you let it rest or go out. Not go out. You like, buy land, have a good day, pack your bags, just the rest, right? And so it's like getting into Torah gets you in his cycles. It gets your land in his cycles. It's just operating on his time, right? And verse 13 is a whole different point here. It says, "In all things that I've said unto you, be guarded, and make no mention of the name of other Elohim, neither let it be heard out of your mouth." So the way this, the Sefer and the KJV, most translations, it makes it look like if I said right now, get ready, Monday, some people are like, bro, you can't be talking like that. That is straight up sin. You are breaking Exodus 23:13 because Monday comes from moon, and you're calling it the moon day, and Thursday is from Thor, and you're saying Thor. I'm not trying to be super mocky, but that's like how people I try to do like a reenactment of how stuff goes down. Like what I just reenacted is stuff that happens, right? But like people use this one principle to make Torah a verbal gymnastics game. Like, you can't say, all right, children, today we're going to learn spelling. You're going to teach them to spell? To cast spells like a witch? No, I'm going to teach them how to, like, spell a word. Like, they're like, oh, well, you're speaking in curses. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm going to teach them how to, like, I said good morning, like, oh, why are you talking about like mourning for the dead? Like, you need to say grand rising instead. Like, what are you talking about? I'm just saying, hey, the morning, which means the sun coming up and it's good. Hi, hello, my name's Adam. So people have made saying Hebrew words instead of English a game of righteousness. It's like how much you can replace English with Hebrew equals your righteousness. So it's like, and it gets really ridiculous. I mean, I have people write me emails and I'm like, I know these Hebrew words, but I still have a hard time understanding what you're saying, because it's like English then Hebrew, then English then Hebrew. And it's like, do you feel like if you're able to once like replace all the English words, then you're righteous? It's I just want to warn you that's not the way of Yahweh. Getting right with Yah is what we're learning here. Of actually, it's not knowing that the law is good, and it's actually walking it out and implementing it. But let me get to the point here. I want to share what this verse has become in the Torah movement, and that's not what it is. And the reason this is hey, on further evaluation, make no mention. So in our English today, like, hey, don't mention. Like, I can't mention Moloch. Like, that's a name of another god. Like, wait, am I sinning? Wait, the Bible has the name Moloch written down. Why did it say the god of the Moabites, which we will not mention his name? The key behind this is the word make mention is not even that at all. The word here mention is zakar. And zakar is to remember, to call to mind. And this word is the same word used like remember the Sabbath day. So let's say like, right here, right? So remember the Sabbath day. So do you think the commandment is just, I remember it? Or no, what the commandment is like commemorate it, like observe it, do it. He tells us to zakar the Passover, zakar. And so it's interesting, what it's actually saying is don't zakar the name or the laws of other gods. Like, so like in our modern day, like, hey, don't zakar Christmas. That's an appointed time. That's a name or the law of other Elohim. And then, because it's interesting that right away he talks about his name, which is his feast days. And so basically what he's saying, don't observe the festival appointed times, the remembrances of other gods. So it's like the Christmas, Saturnalia, is zakaring, remembering, Mithra and, all those, pagan deities. And whereas Passover brings to remembrance or recalls the Passover story, the Passover lamb, right? And so, again, this verse does not set us on a mission of removing, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday from our lives and replacing it with first day, second day, third day. That does not establish your righteousness, and that does not distinguish you from Torah keeping and not Torah keeping. This is specifically talking about the laws and remembrances and the sacred holy days of other Elohim. And then again, to confirm my understanding of that here as he goes on to talk about his festivals, that which we do keep. So if he says don't do this, then he would right away, and a lot of times, say, "We'll do this instead. Keep my appointed times." And so, yeah. Yeah, so we're going to talk more about these feasts, honestly, when we get to Leviticus 23. If you want to learn more about the feast days, because I'm doing a quick gloss over here, I'm kind of just acknowledging that we keep Passover, we keep unleavened bread, we keep the Sukkot. We have a playlist with kind of just a teaching on all the different feast days and why we do it. But yeah, just I'm a witness that doing Passover and unleavened bread and first fruits and Pentecost and trumpets and atonement and Sukkot is way better than Christmas and Easter and Halloween and all that stuff I used to do. Because it remembers him, right? It remembers his doings and his amazing works that he's done amongst his people. So, hallelujah. What else did I want to say here? And so, consider doing these feasts is also giving Yahweh justice. He's like, I did all this for you. Can you do this for me? So it's probably a stretch there, but, it's how we can fairly treat him too as well, by simply doing what he commands. Like, hey, honor me this way. Bring your first fruits. Bring all this. Bring a portion of what I give you. Just bring a portion of that for me and my house. His house being, of course, the priests that operated off of those offerings and whatnot. This is an interesting passage because this sometimes people like to share this in kind of share it as an opposing view to my understanding that Yahusha is the angel of Yahweh. Consider that the word angel here is malak, which can mean angel, like heavenly angel, divine being, or messenger. There's many times where malak was used for a human messenger. So consider this can transcend Moses and Joshua, because consider from Messiah's perspective, he could say, hey, I'm sending a messenger for you to guard you in the way, to bring you in the place where I've prepared. Beware of him, obey his voice. Could not apply to Moses and to Joshua. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions. Because, right, if a person walking righteously would not acquit the guilty, as he just said, for my name is in him, because that's literally his name. We just established that, the Exodus 34, that not clearing the guilty is part of his name. But ye shall indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak. Then will I be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. So that does not apply. Like, hey, do everything that I told Moses, then I will be an enemy to your enemies. For my messenger could be Moses, could be Joshua, and then the anointed leader that Yah has for his people, who shall go before you and bring you into these lands. And such and such. And so, anyways, this is kind of cool too. I just thinking about this, and we were visiting Indiana a couple weeks ago with my mom, and we were visiting with my aunt, and she's got a nice place, nice pool. We like to visit and have a little swim day with her. It's kind of a thing we do, but it's like almost the entire day there was kind of almost ruined with she's got these sweat bees. What are they called? Corn bee or corn flies or something like that, that were just so annoying. And I was just thinking of, like, what a nice pool, what a nice place she has, but how quickly it was turned into a not so great place to be by those invading insects. Thankfully, she had some fans, and they were not interested in sticking around. But while I was there, I was thinking of this precept of how quickly, tomorrow, if he wanted to, he could send hornets to inhabit all of Manhattan, and people would run. If a house was filled with 20 hornets, 10, 5, people are running out. Then you put hornets in the streets, gone. People are running. It's interesting that Yahweh can do with just insects, right? And can take it can take because it's like my aunt's house is like in the world's eyes is like a little paradise. Large property, large nice house, nice pool, slide, cabana. It's a very nice place. How quickly that nice place was turned into a undesirable habitation by some pesky little sweat bees that are all over us. But I was thinking about that and how realistic that would be with some pesky hornets, and how the enemies would be like just driven out of there. And yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on here, but I those of you that have been paying attention in the end times, the Egypt talk, the Assyria talk, the Moab talk, in the last days, I believe he's going to basically set his house, and then it's like the kingdom of heaven is going to by little just kind of take over. And yeah. Anyways, let's go on to 24, and we're going to finish up this Torah portion. Hallelujah. Hua.
Shemot, Exodus, chapter 24. And he said unto Moshe,
Come up unto Eliyahu, you and Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, and 70 of the elders of Yasharel, and worship ye afar off. And Moshe alone shall come near Eliyahu, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him.
And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yahuwah, and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, All the words which Yahuwah said, we will do. And Moshe wrote all the words of Yahuwah, and rose up early in the morning, and built an altar unto the hill, and 12 pillars, according to the 12 tribes of Yasharel. And he sent young men of the children of Yasharel, which offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yahuwah. And Moshe took half of the blood, and put it in the basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the sefer of the covenant, and read it in the audience of the people. And they said, All that Yahuwah has said, we will do, and be obedient. And Moshe took the blood, and sprinkled it on the people, and said, Behold, the blood of the covenant, which Yahuwah has cut with you, concerning all these words. Then went up Moshe, and Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Yasharel. And they saw the Elohai of Yasharel, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in his clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Yasharel he laid not his hand. Also they saw Elohim, and did eat and drink. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe,
Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give you sapphire stones, and a Torah, and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them.
And Moshe rose up, and his minister Yahusha, and Moshe went up into the mount of Elohim. And he said unto the elders, Tarry ye here for us, until we come again unto you. And behold, Aaron and Horai are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them. And Moshe went up into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount. And the glory of Yahuwah abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the 7th day he called unto Moshe out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of Yahuwah was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Yasharel. And Moshe went into the midst of the cloud, and got him up into the mount. And Moshe was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights.
Man. All right. Exodus 24. Here, this is a marriage, right? It's like they had the sprinkling of the blood, the covenant, and basically like the I do, right? All the words which Yahweh said we will do. So it's basically like I do, right? And man, I'm really looking forward to the end times when he just brings his people into the covenant one final time. You know, I know Messiah, in my opinion, inaugurated the new covenant, and I just don't feel like we've been fully brought into it until his return and brought into it forever. It's like Paul talks about how we have the Holy Spirit, which is a seal until that day, the day of redemption, I think. And so it's like I feel like we're engaged in the timeline of things. I feel like were engaged, waiting for the master to come and for the wedding supper and for that joyous day that I'd like to be a part of myself. Not myself, not by myself, but like me personally, I would like to be part of that group with you. And so, yeah, let's see here. Matthew 26:26. As they were eating, Yahushua took the bread, blessed it, brake it, gave it to the disciples, and said, "Take it, eat. This is my body." And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave to them, saying, "Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the new covenant or testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins." Hebrews 9:18. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood. We're just reading that here. For when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet and wool and hyssop and sprinkled the book and all the people, saying, "This is the blood of the testament which Elohim has enjoined unto you." Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without the shedding of blood is no remission. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of the things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For Messiah is not entered into holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of Elohim for us. Nor yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest enters into the holy place every year with blood of others. For then he must have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, he has appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And as it is appointed unto men to die once, but after this the judgment, so Mashiach was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. Hallelujah. Praise him. I want to just make mention, I know I talk a lot about the deity, but it's just currently very interesting to me. This is not to persecute anyone else's belief, but here it's very clear that Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders saw the Elohai of Yasharel, who was called Yahweh and Elohim. Or here, they saw Elohim, they saw Yahweh. And so it's like, who did they see? Because if we believe the New Testament, it says, "No man has seen Elohim at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he declared him." And in my opinion, right here, Yahusha declared the Father. And I know it's kind of hard because this word Kyrios, God, kind of just blurs the lines. And so my opinion is this is saying that Yahusha's Father, nobody's seen at any time. Anytime. Right here, look at this. Anytime. So that means they did not see the Father, like Yahusha's Father, but they saw the God of Israel, but they didn't see the Father. That's my understanding, if that makes sense. Because it's literally saying this is my interpretation of this verse. No one has seen Elohim, the Father of Yahusha. The only begotten Son, Yahusha, which is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. In my opinion, that's this kind of weird dynamic here where it says, "And the Lord, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, descended in a cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of Yahweh." This, to my opinion, gives us later instruction where Messiah is like, "I don't have my own doctrine. I bring the Father's doctrine." So you have Yahusha, who operates in the name of the Father, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, proclaiming the Father's name right here. He didn't do anything different than he did later on when he came back in person. And it says, "And Yahweh passed by before him, proclaiming Yahweh." Now he's proclaiming the Father, or declaring, right? He has declared him, the Son has declared him. It says, "Yahweh, Elohim, merciful, gracious, long-suffering, abundant." And so what we read earlier. And so this is his Father's doctrine that he got, because he says there's someone greater than him, right? It's only his own words. So, anyways, yeah, I think I'm gonna finish up there, and I think we had a good Torah portion. The good, yeah. Just remember, the Mishpatim, right, are the baseline. If you really look at them, you can really see what the Father's heart, what he's saying in a matter. you know. Anyways, well, let's pray, and just a reminder, Ancient Path Revivals, we've got our calendar here. We got upcoming events. Just a reminder, the evening of October 12th, Yah willing, we'll spot that moon. We'll start the 7th month, the festival month. And then the evening of October 21st to the evening of the 22nd, we're going to be celebrating the Day of Atonement. And then these are the Sukkot dates. It is an invitation for those of you that do walk in this way. If you want to join us here in Missouri, we are hosting a Sukkot. And and I think to sign up is somewhere in here. I don't know. Oh, you know what? My wife has not created that yet. Oh yeah, here's previous events and how to sign up. So I guess she'll have it here, and she'll post it soon. Maybe the next few weeks, maybe the next week or so, because I know it's about time for people to make plans for Sukkot now. So just want to show you our dates. Again, they're about a little bit different than everyone else's. This year we added the 13th month. I put out some videos prior in the year as to why we added the 13th month, and most did not. Not to judge everyone else, but to explain our position. So, with that, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. I'm going to play a song, and let's see. I want to play a new one for you. Let's see. I'm going to... How do I do that without it? Okay, so yeah, I'm going to play this one. It's in direct response to, there's been a movement of saying that Messiah was not the Passover lamb, that the Passover lamb was never instituted by Yah, but by the devil, and Yah hates meat eating, and it's really getting pretty aggressive and spreading pretty quickly. And I guess I just have a song in response to that, and so it's more of like a rock song, and so praise Abba. I hope you guys have a blessed day and blessed Shabbat. Shalom.
Recently asking the question, how would Messiah be killing a lamb? I'll tell you how. Remember Egypt, he passed over history. The cross of Christ required sacrifice. Don't you know, in order to fulfill all the law had to be written down. It wasn't added in, even though both you and I know mainstream slaughterhouse horrible does not give liberty to emotionally cut away the slices out of your scriptures and throw away whatever doesn't fit your narrative. How could you turn your back on me? It was sudden, so roughly torn apart. My heart wanted to learn my sacrifice. Then was crucified. Passover lamb to justify your sin. was man resurrected, then he fed his own with more fish. The law is spiritual life, requires sacrifice. How could you turn your back on me? It was sudden and so roughly torn apart. My heart would deny my sacrifice. Then was crucified as a soul, for I lift up my soul unto you.